This is Nancy Pelosi back in 1996 in support of tariffs. We're also going to look at Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, all Democrats, all supporting tariffs in 1996.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo?
Doesn't she sound like
As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%.
It's curious that Trump had this this board with all of the tariffs that basically this board that represented the tariffs being levied against the U.S. by certain countries and the reciprocal tariffs that the U.S. would be levying against the countries in question. And here are Democrats doing the same thing, but I mean this could very well be a MAGA presentation. Like we talk about how Democrats can't be trusted because they change their skin so regularly you don't know who they are. But one of the things you can say about Trump and you can't take away from him is he's been consistent for over 40 years.
Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least.
Let's look at these numbers. Why is it that when a Republican president, and let's just say Donald Trump, why is it that when Donald Trump says these things, Satan is talking? But when Democrats use these talking points, we expect that, we hear the choirs of angels in the background while they're singing. While they're presenting these numbers. Trump has been saying this for over 35 years. And today, he's following through on his convictions and the things that he's been talking about for a long time. And the news media, is basically painting him as the Antichrist. And there's so much dishonesty going around. Look at these numbers. In 1996, 10 million jobs in China, while the Chinese only supported 170,000 jobs.
At least fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say that trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say to you, now we want to see your plan for export. That's as simply as I can say it briefly. But the fact is, this isn't about products made in America. The Chinese want American products that are made in China. And the most serious of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry, where Boeing tail sections of the Boeing 737s were mostly made in Wichita, Kansas. Now they are made in Shen province, where workers make $50 a month. And they had the transfer of the technology and the transfer of the jobs has taken place. General Motors, Ford, they're all fighting to get in to build factories there so they can make parts there. They want MFN so they can get those parts back into the United States. So we are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship.
Everything that she's been saying, Trump has been saying. Okay, so I want to jump over to Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer also has his own views on tariffs. Let's see if those views are very different from what Trump has been saying. Okay, this is also in 1996.
Gentlemen, salute him for his work on this, rise in support of the amendment. First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law, but let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. All over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And
the same guys today say, don't use the word illegal. They're not illegal. They're undocumented. They're newcomers. But look at them. They use the words regularly because it suited them at the time. Today, they feel like the Republican Party has captured that narrative, and anyone who uses it is a bigot and racist, and so they have flipped. I'm sorry, but I don't trust the Democrat Party. Okay? I don't trust them. I've seen again and again how duplicitous they are. They can say one thing today, and then next week, they speak as if they were never in support of the thing that they were talking about the week prior.
the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. Mm-hmm. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing.
That's the Democrat Party, and they still do the same thing today. leave a comment in the comment section to let me know what you think of these videos that we're looking at. I've played videos of Trump in the past showing what he said 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and people leave comments, some supportive comments, in fact, a lot of supportive comments, and then quite a few negative comments of people who just hate Trump because they've been told to hate Trump, and then loads and loads of bots. And then here we are watching Democrats saying one thing in 1996, and then today they say something completely different. Here's Chuck Schumer talking about documentation, IDs, social security numbers, and how these things check fraud. He's saying them on the floor of the Senate, and no one is checking him, and saying that he's being racist. But today, have the Republican Party talking about voter IDs and documentation and checking voter fraud, and all of the Democrats oppose that conversation. Yesterday, a bill was meant to be voted on the floor, and all the Democrats opposed it. So it's interesting to watch these videos because it basically reveals the kind of character that most of the people in the Democrat Party, especially the top leadership like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, this is the kind of character that they actually possess. Let's look at Bernie Sanders and listen to what he has to say and see if Bernie Sanders is the upright and consistent person that a lot of people, Joe Rogan included, hoped that he was.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, healthcare, pensions, throw them out on the street, because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants. We move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America. But that is the philosophy. And I have to say, in that regard, the champion, and he is honest on this one. Senator McCain has been criticized recently for not being the most honest candidate we have seen in terms of his ads and so forth. He has been honest on this one. He is the lead advocate of unfettered free trade. And that's an also important part of this right-wing ideology, that it is good for America that corporations can go to China and bring products back into this country.
So in 2008, it was right-wing for America to consider taking jobs or giving jobs to foreign countries and not putting tariffs on trade. Today is the opposite. These people flip-flop so much that, in all honesty, I don't think they can be trusted. I don't trust them. I don't think that they are honest about their positions. I think that they change their positions based on convenience, and it's hard to put to give your vote to people like that. Like I keep saying, I'm not American and I cannot vote in American elections, and I'm not Democrat or Republican. I call what I see, and I try to be as fair as I can be. If this was a baseless accusation without evidence, then that would be a different conversation. But here they are in I would say black and white, but it's colored, saying exactly the same things that Donald Trump has been saying throughout the campaign trail and even now, and all of them without fail have opposed him. All the media outlets have attacked him and his cabinet, and have basically done their level best to ruin anyone who supports this policy. Let me know what you think of these videos that I've played. Leave a comment in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Can the Democrat Party really be trusted? I think the Democrat Party needs an overhaul and a complete change in their roster. The people that have invaded the Democrat Party have shown that they are dishonest, and most of them are liars, and they don't want the best interest of America at heart. They don't hold the best interest of America at heart. So that's my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section. Don't forget to use the link in the show notes to listen to the books that have been recommended by getting the free Audible trial that I'm offering. Use the link in the show notes to claim that trial. For 30 days, you can listen to books for free on Amazon. And you can, if you don't want to listen to the books that we recommend in the show notes, you can listen to your favorite books, like Lord of the Rings. I keep saying Lord of the Rings because it is one of my absolute favorites. And don't forget that YouTube thinks that this video will be a great one for you to watch next.